The claim backed up by Lee Berk at Loma Linda University. Berk has spent more than 30 years studying how laughter affects what's going on in our bodies. Berk has found laughter decreases stress hormones, improves our immune system, and boosts endorphins. Those are the brain chemicals associated with the runner's high.
Exercise and its good effects on health have become widely known. I mean, I think no one would disagree with that now. Is that where we're going to get with laughter?
I'm thinking we may get there with the same sort of prescription for laughter of maybe 30 minutes a day, 3 or 4 times a week, if not more.
That sounds like a pretty good prescription.
It's enjoyable.
In a year-long study of heart patients, Berk asked one group to choose half an hour of comedy daily. Some chose the sitcom Friends.
Given my lifelong search for irony, you can imagine how happy I am.
Others received the same medical care without the comedy. The group that laughed required fewer medications such as beta blockers and nitroglycerin. Most striking, over the 12 months of the experiment, only 8% of the group that laughed suffered a second heart attack, compared with 42% of the control group.
Now, if you or I had discovered a medication that did that, we'd be on our way probably to Stockholm or in Sweden.
You'd be getting the Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
Even the anticipation of laughter produces some of the same beneficial results, offering evidence of what Berk calls the biology of hope.
Finally from us this evening, medicine on the cutting edge when you send in the clowns. And there is surely no other time when a child will be in such need of laughter. To see the clowns in action is to see their value, to see their genuine scientific value. Dr. Maria New is head of pediatrics here.
I remember particularly one child who had been in the hospital for over 6 months. And then all of a sudden, one day, he was seeing the clowns and he began to get better.
Does this mean that laughter is a legitimate medical treatment? Might it actually be a cure?
It is not alternative medicine. There's nothing alternative about having your body be part of the healing process.
Professor Lee Berk of the Loma Linda School of Medicine in California has been studying laughter and medicine for 18 years. He comes to this conclusion: laughter works as an agent on a body's stress hormones.
Stress hormones that suppress the immune system. So then when we decrease those stress hormones, we actually allow for the immune system to actually crank itself back up.
This group in Professor Berk's laboratory is watching the comedian Gallagher, and as they laugh, Dr. Berk takes a blood sample. And under the microscope, he finds something else. Laughter increases the number of natural killer cells in the immune system.
Natural killer cells go after and fight virally infected cells and fight tumor cells.
Professor Berk's findings have now been accepted by many in the medical community, confirming what clowns have understood throughout history. After all, the ancient Greeks built their hospitals next to amphitheaters so the sick could be entertained.
When my sugar walks down the
One thing we do know, laughter cannot hurt. That is our report on World News Tonight.
Could The Simpsons and Seinfeld help you live longer? As Jeff Michael reports, there's now some proof that laughter really is the best medicine.
Doctors have never found the funny bone, but one doc has pinned down what happens to us when something strikes it. Dr. Lee Berk at Loma Linda University Medical Center divided 48 heart attack patients into 2 groups.
One had regular cardiac rehab, and the other group had cardiac rehab, but they were told to watch 30 minutes at least of humor every day for a full year.
They watched Laurel and Hardy, the comedian Gallagher.
What about citrus? No problem!
Whatever tickled their fancy. The result?
In other words, there was only 2 recurrent heart attacks in the group that watched the comedy movie compared to 10 in the group that didn't watch any comedy movie.
The key is what doctors call negative stress hormones. Okay, let's pretend for a minute this guy's a little stressed out. According to Berk, that's caused by the brain sending a signal to the pituitary gland somewhere in here. That produces a stress hormone, which in turn sends another signal to the adrenal gland somewhere down here by the kidneys. That also produces a stress hormone. Now, what Berk has proven is that when we laugh, somehow the signal between the brain and those two glands gets blocked. Dr. Berk says Mel Brooks
has given unto you these 15
delivers the right kind of humor.
10 commandments.
It's as old as the scriptures. Dr. Berk says he's just scientifically proving the proverb, a merry heart doeth good, like a medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bone.
What I meant to say was that,
Your lip.
And that brings us back to the funny bone. Dr. Berk says if, for example, Eddie Murphy tickles your funny bone, then he's your prescription. But Berk warns not all humor will do the trick.
Humor that is demeaning or derogatory, that makes fun of other people. It doesn't elicit the type of biology in the body that we experience with a merry heart.
The doctor plans to publish his study early next year, one of the few times when he will not encourage his colleagues to laugh. Jeff Michael.
So I am here with Dr. Lee Berk. This is Frank Gindamo. I'm here with Dr. Lee Berk, and as you can see, he's got a few certificates on the wall, in addition to, as you can see here, TV Land. How did you get that from TV Land?
It was sent by Nick, whatever his name is, I don't know if he's the owner or whatever he is of TV Land.
And you've been in...
He's been here. We've been talking. We talked together a number of years ago.
And just this week, you've spoken with folks at Oprah's magazine?
Well, we interview. I do constant media interviews. Oprah magazine this week, Red Book this morning, and it's just constant, because they're interested in humor. They want the evidence, the scientific evidence. They want to know why humor is important to an individual and to the readership, and what is the value.
And so you believe that humor and health are connected?
You're preaching to the choir here again. Humor and health are connected. There's the old wisdom of the Bible. Merry heart does good like a medicine, but a broken spirit will drieth the bone. That's in the Bible. Okay, well, the Bible is as modern medicine as you can get relative to the mind-body connection. And the reality of, indeed, the ancient Greeks used to build their healing temples beside the amphitheaters so that the sick could be entertained.
Wow.
Which would change their mindset, and they noticed that they would, a good percentage of them would get well sooner.
And so what we're going to hopefully do together is we're going to take that amphitheater and put it onto the television sets and provide some comedy.
What you've modernized with the web and television and the current technologies can be applied to the healthcare setting, and we need to pursue that to see what the potential outcomes may be, both scientifically, medically, and monetarily.
So ultimately, and this is my last question, ultimately, do you believe that if LaughMD were to be installed in a hospital system, that we could come up with demonstrable, measurable findings that show that not only is laughter good medicine, but that laughter in a hospital is good medicine, and that it can save hospitals money and make patients feel better?
I think it's important to document and produce evidence base for any type of intervention. If indeed the patient is watching humor or some other type of intervention, just as a medication, what is the outcome of the medication? Humor watching is indeed a behavioral medication. And then what is the consequence or the benefit thereof? And that needs to be measured and quantified so that you can provide evidence base for that, and then you can make your product much more sellable.
And this is not something that's surprising. This is something that we know to be true in our hearts anyway.
Sure. this is intuitive, and indeed, but again, the world of healthcare and medicine is evidence-based. So what is the evidence for the value to both the hospital and the patient for doing this meaning providing them with humor, if you please, therapy.
Fantastic. All right. And one last question. The studies that you were doing today in the lab, they were taking humor. What were the three types of videos?
The current studies that we're doing is an offshoot of a study that we presented at a scientific meeting at the American Physiology Society meetings in San Diego, California. The meetings are entitled the FACET meetings, the Federation of American Societies of Experimental Biology, hugely attended in the range of 25,000, 30,000 people from all over the world. What we documented and showed indeed that humor indeed resides in the brain relative to the same area that positive emotions do, and we're documenting, we documented that it exists in the preliminary research in what we call the left frontal area, the F3 area, and that's synonymous with positive affect or positive emotion. In split brain theory, the right side, F4, is associated with negative emotion or depression. And so humor indeed is documented in the brain, if you please, with EEG, electroencephalograph, as a positive emotion.
There we go. Thank you very much, Doctor.